Welcome, dear viewer. We're going to have a special treat for you right now with an intercontinental mastermind. Joining me now from London and from Johannesburg, South Africa, we have two fine people. I'm going to let them start. Alan Stevens, introduce yourself, please, there in London.
Well, hello, Terry. Hello, Paul. Hello, everybody. I'm Alan Stevens, known as the Media Coach, coming to you from London, UK, where next weekend we're going to have the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, and in a few weeks' time we're going to have the London 2012 Olympics. My job is to help people build and protect their reputations, and I do that across a range of media, traditional media, social media, and I talk about that stuff a lot.
And Paul?
And hello, everyone. My name is Paul du Toit. I'm coming from Sandton in Johannesburg. I'm a presentation skills coach and an author of You Can Present with Confidence. Alan and I are busy collaborating on a book called The Exceptional Speaker, which will be coming out later this year. And I'm delighted to be with you, Alan and Terry, on this Intercontinental Mastermind.
Yes, and I'm Terry Brock here in Orlando, Florida, in the United States. I do a lot with blogging, having just finished a project with AT&T as their editor-in-chief for their blog, and chief enterprise blogger with Skype, and speaking around the planet. So let's talk about some of the things that are happening with speaking. Matter of fact, we see a lot of interesting things happening. Before our recording, we were recording this. Alan, you were telling us about something you saw just today on the net of a decisive change in the speaking business that can generate a lot more money. Share that with us, please.
Yeah, I will, guys. A very, very interesting blog by a lady called Lois Creamer, C-R-E-A-M-E-R, and she's from bookmorebusiness.com. Well worth reading her blog. The point she came up with today was about keynote speakers. She said she'd been working with a keynote speaker who she didn't name, and that's fair enough, but they were saying they didn't get much work these days. And she said, well, how are your programs going? And he said, I don't do programs, I do keynotes. And she said, but how are your programs going? And he said, I don't do programs. And then the penny dropped, or the cent dropped, or whatever it was. The fact is, these days, just doing a keynote is not sufficient. Just turning up and doing 40 minutes or half an hour on stage is not sufficient to satisfy the client. What you've got to have is a long-term relationship. You've got to be able to offer them workshops and seminars, one-to-ones, on the back of and before any speech that you do. So a professional speaker is not somebody who just does 40 minutes on stage anymore.
Yeah, I think so. We're seeing that people want a lot more than just that one keynote. They want something that I know often, for instance, when I'll do a program beforehand, I build a web page for them. And we pack in a lot of training that's 2 or 3 hours worth of video, audio, text on there before the meeting. All with the idea, come join us at our convention that's going to be in such and such city on this date, and you're going to hear this, and even interviewing some of the other speakers that are going to be there, like we're doing here over Skype right now, and saying, well, tell us, Mary, what are you going to cover at the convention coming up? And so it's a promo that way, and then afterwards it becomes a, wow, we had a great time at the convention, and here's some of the things we covered kind of thing. Those are some of the things I'm seeing happening. Paul, what about you?
Look, this all makes a lot of sense, and I had an instance just yesterday where the inquiry came in for a series of talks around the country. And what I try and do is I try and sit down and speak to the customer and find out what it is that they really want. Turns out that once I told him what we were able to do, his interest was more in designing a program where there'd be actual change and where there was interaction. And the word really now is interaction. People are expecting to be able to reply, not just read text or listen to somebody. They want to interact with them. They want a way of being able to give their view across. They even want to be able to debate. And the technology with Twitter and with telecasting and all the techniques that are now available and becoming possible because of greater bandwidth are making this possible for us. And the speaker that simply gets up and does a keynote is generally going to find that there's less and less work. I don't know if you agree with that, or but we're certainly finding that here, that where there is interaction, those are the speakers that are getting the work.
Yeah, I'm seeing that myself in different continents as we see from speakers around the world, literally the different continents. People want interaction because we're seeing a lot more homogenous society now than never before in history because of technology. Because, like, think about it right now. Here we are. We're all sitting around a virtual table, if you will, with an intercontinental mastermind. We're able to see each other clearly. I mean, we're right, each of us, in our respective homes in different cultures. A few years ago, this either wasn't possible or was exorbitantly expensive. And right now we're doing it for a very small cost using Skype video as the technology right now. But I think the principles that the two of you talk about in your book still apply today. I think they still work in the age of technology and the age of Skype and live streaming and all of those things.
But I think it's absolutely right, Terry. I mean, the thing that people want is they want some value. And the days where you can decide what that value is are coming to an end if they haven't already come to an end. The value is, as we always say, is in the interaction. It's people want to hear from you. We have a lot of expertise, and you know, there's that old phrase that you give away your knowledge, you sell your expertise, because knowledge is available for free on the internet. Stuff is available for free. It's the expertise, the application of that knowledge that people like us bring to the table. It's that interaction that makes it happen.
Yeah,
I think it's also very important that that knowledge is packaged in such a way that the audience can use it. And one of the big problems that can exist with speakers is that they're so keen to give the information through that they pack too much in, and that it's not structured in such a way that people can assimilate it clearly. And the second thing that we find is that with the advent of technology became the thing. So it became very fashionable to bang as many YouTube videos as you possibly can onto the screen, and you start losing your connection because in an attempt to be techno-savvy, you're not packaging your message in a way that is easily digestible. So it's that combination of a little bit of spontaneous humor, a few really good stories, you as the speaker being the central message, but being prepared to interact with people and not overdoing the technology, but if you're going to use it intelligently. I mean, Alan's a fantastic idea that he came up with years ago regarding question time. Maybe you want to share that with us.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure I can claim credit, although I've been doing it for a long time, and that is to get people, you know, in the days when people only used text, when there was no Twitter, to put my text number up at the beginning of a presentation, so you can text me questions on my mobile phone, and I will pick those up at the end of the presentation. A lot of people use that technique now, but the thing is, it's about, we're kind of like conductors of an orchestra now, rather than soloists who are just doing a performance. And we've got to put all the elements of communication together. That's our job as professionals. We're not just there to do a performance. We're there to facilitate a performance.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the ways we do that now with technology, we've all seen the tweet chats that are going on. So we say, here's a hashtag, and it's for this particular meeting, and now people put in comments. You give them an area where they can focus that. It benefits everyone in the audience because they're going to be on Twitter, they're going to be using their mobile devices anyway. Put it there and then stream it, and then refer to it. Look at it and say, well, what kind of comments have come through? We see here, oh, Mary from Cleveland asked about da-da-da-da. And Mary, where are you? And Mary raises her hand. Yeah, Mary, you asked about that. Well, let me address that. You know, so they can see what's going on. And then it's available for those that can't be there, either right now or whenever. They can find out what's going on and gain value from it. So we're going back to, like you were saying, Alan, we want to keep providing value long term.
Well, just a quick story, and I'm sure Paul's got a view on this. And I was delivering a speech in Poland a couple of months ago, and I put it out on SlideShare, and I was tweeting about it. I was auto-tweeting in the background as the presentation was going on, which is something we can all do very easily. And some questions started coming in on Twitter, and we ended up having a conversation on Twitter, which I broadcast back to the audience. And I eventually said, wait, excuse me, where are you? And it was a lady in Vancouver. So we ended up having a question and answer session with a lady who was late night in Vancouver while I was presenting live lunchtime in Poland, in Warsaw. And that's going to happen more and more.
Yeah. And I think one of the things we have to be aware of is that we're not just going to necessarily get positive feedback. You can be up on stage and let's say you've lost half of your audience and they're sitting tweeting, this is the event name, it's Paul du Toit on stage, hash boring. And then you've...
Well, that never happened. Never. No.
Well, we hope so.
I got a book you could read about that, Paul. It'll liven up your presentations.
Hasn't it got something to do with exceptional?
It does.
Yes. By now.
I think you're right. We've got to make sure that it's there because it's going. I think we're going to see more and more of this. One of the things I'm excited about right now is seeing the live streaming that's available. So, which means that as you're speaking to someone, either you into the camera or joining a group like we're doing here with the two of you joining me, we can have this streaming so that people can go out to a given URL, go to www.whateverit is.com, and they can then watch that either for free or for a fee. And that's a way for speakers to generate additional revenue, to bring an immediacy and an excitement of right now, here's what's going. For the organizations, think of the opportunity. People that say, gee, I'd love to join you in Luzon for that conference, but I just can't make it. You go, no problem. It's going to be broadcast, and for only this amount, so many euros, if there's still a euro around after a while, but so many pounds or whatever, Kruger Rands, here you go. For so many Kruger Rands, you can watch it here and be able to see what it's like and be a part of it, and then bring in the Twitter streams and bring in the interaction so that people can still interact from wherever they happen to be on the planet.
So that means, Mr. Brock, that you'll be able to save yourself a 17-hour flight to and from Florida and Johannesburg to come and speak at our convention.
Well, we could, but there's a lot to be said still. People are going to go, wait a minute, I don't know about that, because there's something there. I mean, I think Corbin Ball says it really well. You can't share a virtual beer. And it's kind of hard, but I know if Corbin might be watching this, gentlemen, I think we can share a virtual tea. So right now, from all 3 continents here, great to have you joining us here. Cheers.
Very good. Done.
Very good.
So, Corbin Ball, if you're watching that, we can share a virtual tea, but we're working up to the virtual beer. See, we can't do it right now because, hey, it's not time for beer here in Orlando. It is, though, over there. So, Alan and Paul, I'm commissioning you to do sufficient drinking for all of us tonight.
We certainly will.
Terry, thank you very much.
We're going to be, in wrapping this up, any final words you want to say about how the speaking business is changing and things that we need to be aware of as professional communicators in today's market? Alan?
Yeah, I think the thing is, you've said it there, we're professional communicators. We aren't just speakers. We can call ourselves speakers because a lot of what we do is communicating through speech. But as Paul rightly said, we need to think about how we package that information, how we put that together, and most importantly, how we speak to our audiences and say, how do you want the information delivered? And whatever form they want it delivered in, that's what we should do.
Yes. Paul?
Yeah, I think the message is pretty clear, and that is that if you can just communicate with your client up front and not just have the keynote in the forefront of your brain, very often when you sit down with them and you discuss what their real needs are, you can find out that there are other things that you can bring to the party that is far better going to get the desired result that they want. It may include a keynote, but that shouldn't really be your focus. Your focus should always be with your client to sit down and say, how can I help you to succeed in your business? And if we all had that approach, I think there'd be a lot more business for all of the speakers out there.
I agree. I think so. Well, it's a wonderful world. And gentlemen, good to see you again. Always nice that we can put these together and with wonders of technology help speakers. And if someone has a question or they want to follow up on that, Alan, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Best way to get in touch with me is alan@mediacoach.co.uk, or they can find me on Twitter @mediacoach.
Very good. And Paul?
Yeah. And I'm on pdt@congruence.co.za. And on Twitter, it's @Paul Dutoit. That's PAULDUTOIT.
Very good. And I'm Terry @terrybrock.com. Best way to reach me is Twitter. @TerryBrock is the Twitter handle. And thank you, dear viewer, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again for many more episodes in the future.